It's a scenario we've all encountered, I think.
Hmm.
Organizations pouring immense resources into AI. The technology itself looks incredibly promising, but for some reason, many of these initiatives just don't seem to gain real traction.
Hmm.
We're often quick to point fingers at, technical hurdles, right? But what if the real problem runs, well, deeper within the organization itself?
That's a critical insight, really critical. Today, we're going to dive into this concept of organizational debt.
Mhm.
It's like a hidden structural obstacle to AI
Mhm.
success.
Right.
It's about understanding that adopting AI successfully needs more than just, deploying new technologies. It actually requires a ready organization.
Exactly. So our mission today is to equip you with a new perspective. This comes from AllyAllez. They're a strategy consultancy focusing on ethical, structured AI adoption.
Hmm.
We'll explore why their architecture-based approach, centered on these ideas of refactoring and survection, can truly make AI effective and, importantly, sustainably anchored in your organization.
Yeah, and as our sources put it so powerfully, no AI without service architecture. Structure is the new strategy. That really sums it up.
Okay, so let's unpack this idea then. Organizational debt, you might be familiar with technical debt in software development.
Sure, yeah.
Those quick fixes now that, boom, lead to bigger problems later. Well, organizational debt, a term coined by Steve Blank, is sort of its structural equivalent.
Exactly.
It's the compromises made in roles, processes, the overall structure, just to get things done quickly.
Yeah.
And they accumulate.
Precisely. And these compromises, they manifest as really frustrating realities.
Hmm.
Deep silos that stop collaboration, an explosion of uncoordinated they call it tool sprawl,
Too strong. Yeah, I've seen that.
and role chaos, where responsibilities are unclear, maybe even completely missing. Processes get fragmented. Sometimes they even contradict each other. Our sources make it really clear. What technical debt is in code, organizational debt is in the structure, and both prevent scaling. It's like uh, trying to build a skyscraper on a foundation of shifting sand. It just won't work.
And this sheds some light on why maybe traditional change management models, like Codders, for instance, often don't quite hit the mark here.
Right.
They largely focus on the psychology, the motivation building awareness, or, desire for change.
And look, while those are absolutely vital, I mean, really important, if the underlying organizational structure is crumbling, the best motivation in the world won't translate into action.
Hmm.
The materials we looked at emphasize that resistance results not from a lack of wanting,
Hmm.
but from structural clarity and practical ability to act.
Okay, so people might genuinely want to embrace AI.
They absolutely might, but without the right organizational framework, they simply can't. It's like trying to run a marathon with your shoelaces tied together. Just impossible.
Right, that makes sense. It sounds like a massive undertaking, though, to untangle all this organizational debt. I mean, where do organizations even begin, especially if they're already struggling?
Yeah, that's the key question. And this is where AllyAllez proposes a pretty fundamental paradigm shift.
Hmm.
Their mantra is structure first, then the tools.
Structure first, then the tools. Okay, so with that fundamental shift in thinking, moving from just focusing on tools to truly understanding the organization first, AllyAllez introduces these two core concepts that really bring it all together.
Hmm.
Their formula is pretty compelling. Nutzeffekt mal Struktur ist Wirkungskraft. Now that means basically the pure benefit of a technology like AI can only fully unfold if the organization's structure is actually ready to receive it.
Yeah, and to illustrate, they use this fantastic football metaphor. Think about it. Traditional change management is often like endless motivation training for the game.
Okay.
Necessary? Yes, absolutely. But if players don't have defined positions, if the game plan is unclear, if the field itself isn't even properly defined, well, motivation alone won't score goals.
Right. You need the
You
structure.
need the structure. As our sources state, without position, game idea, and structure, no goal, no matter how motivated the team is.
Okay, so this leads us to their two core concepts. First, refactoring, or refactorizing. Now, this isn't about traditional restructuring like shuffling boxes on an org chart.
No, not at all.
It's about systematically tidying up the existing roles, processes, governance structures. AllyAllez aims to make organizations more maintainable, adaptable, and scalable, kind of like how you refactor code in software development.
That's a great analogy.
And this includes actively removing that organizational debt we just talked about and actually measuring the impact things like the AI contribution to service unit costs.
Right. And then there's the second concept, servuction. This term, it's central to Paul G. Huppert's work, and it describes the methodical delivery of a service as a, well, a co-productive, systemically embedded event.
Co-productive. Okay.
It's about precisely defining who does what with whom and why. Really getting granular. The core insight here is that value is created at the moment of use, not in production.
Ah, okay. That's key. Value at the moment of use.
Exactly. It brings immense clarity to service units, what their components are, and how they actually impact a customer or the end user, the whole impact chain.
So AllyAllez uniquely combines these two.
That's right. Servuction provides the functional logic, like the blueprint of how services should be delivered ideally,
Mm-hmm.
while refactoring establishes the structural prerequisites, the actual build, to make that logic effective in reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's the blueprint and the construction process working hand in hand.
Got it. Blueprint and build.
Think about that healthcare provider example from the sources. They invested heavily in, GPT-based tools, fancy AI,
Right.
but saw zero impact on throughput times or patient satisfaction. Nothing changed.
Frustrating.
Very. AllyAllez's diagnosis would likely pinpoint an unclear servuction maybe. For instance, a missing case navigator role was needed alongside significant organizational debt, like that tool sprawl we mentioned.
Yeah, uncontrolled tools.
Exactly. New tools adopted without any real governance.
Yeah.
So the solution, a refactoring process, but one that's driven by these servuctional diagnostics to bring some actual order to the chaos.
Now, here's where it gets really, really interesting, I think. A critical distinction that's often misunderstood, especially, in the IT world. To truly unlock the power of AI through this servuction idea, our sources highlight a really fundamental difference between technology and serviciology.
Yeah, this is crucial. Think of technology essentially as a product, something built to deliver specific, repeatable functions.
Okay, like a hammer or software.
Exactly. It's tangible, or at least conceptually tangible. It can be produced in isolation, maybe stored, and then used repeatedly without the producer's direct involvement during consumption. Its value is in its inherent capability, like a piece of software or a machine.
That makes sense. We're definitely used to thinking in terms of products in the tech world, but what then is serviciology, and why is that distinction so critical when we're talking about AI? Doesn't AI just produce things like insights or text?
Well, not quite. See, serviciology is the logic behind services, and importantly, how they're delivered, how that value actually reaches someone.
Okay.
Unlike a product's repeatable functions, a service is about a once consumable, fleeting benefit. Think about getting a haircut versus buying clippers.
Oh, right.
The key difference is that services are consumed simultaneously with their delivery. It's about delivering a specific, often tailored outcome for a consumer, adapting to their unique current situation right then and there.
So it's not just about building a powerful AI tool like, say, a diagnostic algorithm. It's about how that AI tool fundamentally changes something for a user, maybe a doctor or a patient, in the very moment of their interaction.
Precisely. Products are about implementing functions. They do things. Services are about the requirement, compliant, and expected change of a service object for a consumer, making a change for someone.
Okay.
And this distinction is so crucial because the sources criticize this confusing and loss-making tendency to just label everything related to software as technology.
Right, it all gets lumped together.
It does. They argue that, sure, IT systems are products that provide functions, but many IT frameworks like ITIL or COBIT, they mistakenly declare these systems or their outputs as services, and that blurs this vital line.
That's a really powerful point. So while AI is undoubtedly a complex system of software or product in that sense,
It is a product.
its true value and its potential are realized not merely in its existence as technology, but in how it enables the delivery of services that actually change something meaningful for a consumer.
Spot on. Understanding serviciology is absolutely crucial to unlock the full potential of those big AI investments, moving beyond just having the tech to actually seeing its impact through better service.
So what does this all mean for you listening in practice? If organizational debt is a real problem, especially this role chaos thing, how does an organization actually create the necessary structure?
Right, the practical steps.
This is where the L&I role model comes in. It sounds like a very practical proposal from AllyAllez.
It is. The LAI model defines 4 clear roles, and they're really designed to empower teams rather than confuse them, which is often what happens with new initiatives.
Okay, what are they?
So first you have the AI sponsor. This person provides the strategic direction, gets the resources, clears obstacles. They're basically setting the North Star.
The champion?
Kinda, yeah. Then there's the AI integrator. This is the person or team handling the technical implementation, the data, the process integration. They make it actually work.
The text.
Largely, yes. Third, the AI user. This is critical. The person applying the AI in their daily work, day in, day out. And crucially, providing feedback for improvement. They're the ones who live with it.
Essential feedback loop there.
Absolutely. And finally, the AI advocate. This role fosters understanding and enthusiasm, helps with local adoption, acts as a kind of multiplier on the ground. They get people excited and comfortable.
Okay, sponsor, integrator, user, advocate, and Lee-NI. That sounds like a pretty sensible division of labor. But, in the real world, don't these new roles sometimes clash with existing department structures, like traditional IT or maybe HR? How does an organization introduce them without accidentally creating more chaos?
That's a really fair question, and it's precisely what the broader LE&I framework is designed to address. It actually stands for Learn, Engage, Navigate, Innovate.
Ah, okay.
It's essentially a navigation system for doing a structured AI introduction. AllyAllez slogan, Only Need Chaos, which means without any chaos, really highlights its importance. They see it as fundamental. And what's interesting is that Gartner analysts also seem to see such new roles as crucial for bridging that gap between IT, the business departments, and the change initiatives themselves. So there's alignment there.
Okay, so they provide a framework, these L&I roles. What practical tools does AllyAllez offer to actually help organizations embark on this refactoring journey using L&I?
Yeah, they have a toolkit. A great starting point is the Survey Readiness Assessment. It acts as a kind of double check.
A double check.
Yeah, to gauge an organization's maturity, both in general service management, how good are they at services anyway,
Yeah.
and specifically for AI readiness.
Okay.
They even offer a free 22-question online self-check, which is pretty accessible, just to get a feel for it.
Oh, that's a great entry point. Easy to try. What comes after the assessment then, if you find gaps?
Well, building on that, there's Survey Sync. This is a workshop format. It brings the key people together, potential sponsors, integrators, advocates, users, to visualize these new LEI roles in their context, assess their maturity more deeply. And critically, this happens before committing to a specific AI technology. Remember.
Erst die Struktur, dann das Tool. First the structure, then the tool.
Exactly. Get the roles and responsibilities clear first. Then, for the change process itself, there's Survey Learn. This is actually an ACMP-accredited change management certification
Okay.
that specifically connects structure and behavior in the AI context. So it trains people in these roles and how they relate. And finally, to make everything visible, they use the governance map.
Governance map.
Yeah, it's a dynamic visualization tool. It maps out responsibilities, processes, decision rights linked to roles like LE&I. Think of it like a living, breathing organizational blueprint, not just a static chart.
That transparency, visualizing it like a dynamic blueprint, that seems incredibly powerful. I can imagine it builds confidence far more effectively than, opaque top-down decisions.
Absolutely.
It allows people to actually navigate and be effective in this new organizational logic because they can see how it works, as the sources put it so well. Transparency is the UX of trust.
That's a great quote. When people see how things connect, who's responsible, trust grows naturally.
Right. Okay, so to sort of round this out, how does AllyAllez position itself strategically in the market with this approach? Our sources called them a cushion architectin, a kitchen architect for AI,
Huh, I like that.
focusing on operational effectiveness through structured implementation, not just, selling you the latest shiny AI tool.
Yeah, that captures it well. They have some distinct, unique selling propositions based on this. First, they treat service intelligence, this whole structured approach, as an ongoing operating model, not a one-time project. That ensures sustainable change.
Sustainability.
Key. Second, their diagnosis, that readiness assessment, directly leads to tangible architecture projects. It's not just analysis for analysis' sake. It's a clear starting point for concrete organizational restructuring or refactoring.
Actionable insights.
Exactly. Third, their role certifications, like Survey Learn for the L&I roles, act as what they call strategic change insurance.
Change insurance.
Yeah, by empowering the people in those crucial Eliano roles, you're ensuring the change actually sticks because people know what to do. And fourth, they see governance not as a one-off setup, but as a continuous process, even offering to accompany governance committees to ensure that long-term sustainability.
That focus on structure, on architecture, it seems to align perfectly with some broader industry trends we're seeing. Gartner, for example, observes that, over 75% of pure AI productivity initiatives fail to meet expectations.
That's the stat, yeah. And often it's because the value, even if it's generated, isn't translated into measurable business impact.
Which AllyAllez's approach directly addresses by making sure the organization is actually ready to capture and measure that value through its service structure.
Precisely. And Gardner also highlights the importance of these new kinds of roles for digital transformation, where the L&I model offers a pretty concrete answer.
Hmm.
They talk about a shift towards ability-based organizations full of flexible specialists by 2027.
Right, more fluid.
So certifying people in defined but adaptable roles like N&I fits perfectly into that evolution.
Yeah.
Ultimately, this whole structured approach helps organizations strategically align their AI efforts. It guides decisions on where to, say, defend, extend, or abandon certain AI initiatives. And critically, how to measure their actual value contribution back to the business.
Okay. So wrapping this up, if your AI projects are stalling, maybe feeling stuck, our deep dive today really suggests looking beyond just the technical issues.
Definitely.
The real bottleneck might just be that organizational debt, the chaos hiding in your structure, your roles, your processes.
Absolutely. The AllyAllez approach really stresses. Clarify the structure first, get those clear roles like the ones in L&I, and build a well-thought-out service architecture rooted in that idea of surviction.
Right.
Only then can the technology, the AI, truly be effective. Remember their core messages. No AI without service architecture. AI is not just an implementation project. It's a rethinking of service. It changes how you deliver value.
A rethinking of service. Okay. And with that, here's maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to take away. If AI isn't just another tool, but it's more like a learning ecosystem that fundamentally changes how we offer services, what does that really mean for your own organizational operating system?
Good question.
Are your current structures, your processes, your roles, are they truly ready? Ready not just to host an ecosystem like that, but to actively co-create it, and maybe most importantly, to continuously learn and evolve right alongside it.